Hey guys, this is Bedros Keuilian, and you're listening to the Dynamic Lifestyle Podcast with Eric and Chris Martinez.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode on the Dynamic Lifestyle Podcast. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Bedros Keuilian with us. How you doing today, Bedros?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, fellas, and welcome to the headquarters.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I mean, This place is literally just like Chris said, goals. This is something that I would like to have, going forward. But this is amazing. You guys have done an amazing job, and once again, thank you for having us here.
You guys have a hell of a staff too.
Yeah,
man.
We do have a great team. Absolutely.
Great team.
Yeah.
Great environment, great culture, very friendly. Yeah. So this is great.
Right on.
Yeah. So Bedros, we were talking earlier about a funny story about a stalker you might have mentioned. You want to share that?
Yeah. So I'm fairly new to Instagram, like 2.5, 3 years new to Instagram. I thought Instagram was this passing phase, and shame on me for thinking that. But I came on with like thunder, because I do everything with thunder. And man, there was this young woman who would comment on most of my stuff, and she would always put stuff about the shadow government and how there's this hidden government, and she's trying to communicate with the FBI to tell them about it, and just telling me like, hey, you should be careful, warning, etc. And after a while, I was like, I don't think I'm going to respond back to her comments, because when I do, it seems to encourage her. Mm-hmm. So I stopped, and then she started to slide into my DMs and go into long diatribes about, again, the shadow government and how she contacted the FBI but didn't want to talk to her about it, etc. Now, her picture's a little weird and distorted. She's got a hoodie on, but you can tell she's got bangs and black hair. And the other day, on Friday, I was having a workshop, and people paid just over $1,000 each to come to this workshop. And I'm having a workshop, and I'm telling people, like, look, if you have people on Instagram, on social media, who are stalking you or who are just not in line with your message, it's okay to delete them and figure out how to block them. Yeah. I go, in fact, there's this person who's been, looks like this with long hair and bangs, who's been kind of on my jock and been stalking me, right? And one of the video guys, Ash, who's upstairs right now, he's back there. I'm like, Ash, you know who I'm talking about, right? Her profile picture, she has bangs and da-da-da. And then as I'm saying this, I look 4 rows back in our learning center. I'm like, oh my God, she's there, man. She's there. It was her. Get this, during the break, she starts talking about the shadow government and the conspiracies and how the FBI won't contact her, and she's got the whole evidence. Yeah, so it was a very interesting day.
Hold on, okay. So what did you guys do? Like, did you just leave her in the workshop? Or?
Bro, I'm gonna tell you this right now. One of my good friends and coaching clients is a Marine, and he was the kind of Marine that he won't shoot you. He'll sneak up behind you and slit your throat. I'm thankful that I've got a lot of military-based friends, because they seem to jive with my message. And this guy's name is Steve Eckhart. And Steve was there co-teaching with me. And when the workshop ran out, I was like, guys, I got to get out of here, because I got to take my kid to a place, to a dance. It was his little dance. He's 13 years old. And I was like, hey, Steve, make sure you stay around. Make sure that Jamie gets out. Jamie's the one who's hosts our events. And apparently she was the last person to get out. And even then, she had a few more questions for Steve regarding me. But everything was fine. But just know that the shadow government and the conspiracy theory does exist, according to her. Yeah.
That's a funny story, so thanks for sharing that too. I mean, hey,
I've never had an official stalker like that, so it was pretty
and
cool.
She still made the investment, so I mean, that makes it even better. That's a funny story.
It is.
Yeah, so first of all, man, I read your book, Man Up, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit, but fantastic book. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And one of the things that really caught my attention in there was that you worked at Disneyland for 7 years, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, you transitioned to being a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So take us into like some of the lessons you learned working at Disneyland and how that transitioned into being like a personal trainer and then kind of evolving from that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, man. That's not a question I get often enough. And there are so many things I took away from Disney. And let me give you an example. When you go, even now, if you go to work at Disney, even as a busboy, I started off as a busboy, which is a very trivial job. Just go clear those tables, right? And wipe them down so someone else could eat there. I went to a 2-week Disney university before I could even go into the restaurant I was going to work in. 2-week university, learning the culture, the values, how to communicate with guests. They're not customers, they're guests. I wasn't an employee, I was a cast member, right? And we weren't just, that was in the theme park. It was the Magic Kingdom. And it's not rides, we put on a show, right? Look at the context in which they deliver their product. And this is why Knott's Berry Farm is only like 11 or 12 miles away from Disneyland. Right. They always try and find reasons to drop their price, while Disneyland, even when the economy was crashing, kept raising the rates and people kept coming. Every single holiday that I worked, the 7 years, I worked every single one of them, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, 4th of July, it was packed, 101 people, like that's, or 100,000 people is what they could max out at. And it was always packed, always sold out. And the reason is the culture they created, the values they had, the way they made us look at the customer as a guest and us as cast members meant that we're putting on a show, and the show must go on no matter what. And every person must have this magical experience. So I took that and translated that into my personal training business. And I said, I'm not just gonna give people results, that's what they expect. I'm gonna give them the unexpected, I'm gonna give them the show. And so one of the most inspirational cassette tapes I listened to back then in the 90s was Zig Ziglar, right?
Okay.
And he was not only a sales trainer, but he was a very motivational, high energy guy. And he talked about, like, when he puts on an event, he brings the energy because he's also there to entertain in addition to educate. So I was like, you know what, if I can entertain and make people laugh, make them think, make them cry, make them look forward to coming and seeing me as a personal trainer, they will pay me more and come more often than the other guy. And so, man, I was the guy that delivered a show during every workout session with my clients. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how you made that distinction about like Disney and how you had to be there for 2 weeks because they are guests. And the culture there is just so different because I went there recently, maybe like 3 months ago, and I haven't been there in years. But you just feel like you're just taken care of there. You know what I mean? Like you do feel like a guest and you're just like in a whole other world. So it's important.
Absolutely.
It is.
That's awesome.
Also too, so mentorship is a big thing that Chris and I talk about on this show. And I mean, for us, we've had a lot of mentors to help us like expedite the learning curve.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had a really good mentor, Jim Franco.
Jim Franco.
So where if you didn't have Jim Franco in your life, where do you think you'd be now?
Well, I'd like to think that I'd be right where I am now, but I'd have been even in greater debt and probably would have taken a longer time. So maybe I wouldn't be here, maybe I'd be where I am 5 years from now,
Okay.
right? I'm a big believer that mentors, if they do it right, they give you outside eyes. They give you the eyes, and someone goes, what are outside eyes? Can you explain to me? I said, yeah, imagine if you're in a forest, just tightly riddled with trees, and you're just looking for a sidewalk or a dirt path so you can go straight, because there's trees and bushes everywhere. Imagine me in a helicopter hovering over you and saying, look, I know you see forests and trees everywhere, but if you just go 20 yards left and then 13 yards straight, there's an open path where you can sprint to the end of the forest, right? That's the outside eyes. A mentor who you trust, number one. Number two, who's been there, who's been in the forest before, and now has outside eyes and can guide you. They help you time collapse. They help you buy speed. So people are like, yeah, but mentors are expensive. I'll spend $50,000 to $100,000 in a year to have a mentor to buy me 5 years of speed and probably $200,000 to $300,000 of wasted time, effort, and money because I went around trying to figure it out when he or she already knew the answers.
Yeah.
So where did you acquire like that mindset? Because that mindset isn't normally taught, by our families
Or the school system.
School system. So how did you acquire and develop a mindset like that, to where you looked at mentorship and paying for that type of stuff, to get speed, to get gasoline, to get that fire going still?
Well, truth be told, I didn't see the value in it at first, and Jim Franco was a great example of someone who mentored me by way of in between sets. He was a personal training client, right? And in between sets, while he's resting, he would say, hey kid, why do you sell sessions 5 or 10 sessions at a time and then have to resell me? Why don't you just charge me on a recurring basis like you do with like the gym membership does? And I was like, Jim, we can't charge people on their credit card every month $600 to $1,200 a month. He goes, sure you can, I can afford it. And all your other clients who are wealthy like me can afford it. I'm like, man, you make a good point. So he was mentoring me and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So later on in life, when I first met a paid for mentor, Dan Kennedy, Yannick Silver, these guys come to mind, I immediately was like, okay, I get it. While Jim mentored me for free because it was between sets, etc., and I remember the value because of what Jim told me, I ended up opening 5 personal training studios and had all my clients on recurring revenue, on EFT. And that was the defining factor why I was able to sell that business for multiples. And so I was like, man, if Jim got me that kind of results just in between sets, right? Imagine what an actual structured mentoring program, coaching program can get me. So I was all in because I had already had dramatic demonstration of proof. So to me, it's like, well, now I need to learn how to write copy and salesmanship. All right, Dan Kennedy, let's go. Yannick Silver, I need to learn how to do internet marketing. Let's go. To me at that point, it was already been demonstrated because I didn't pay for it. I paid for it with time, right?
Yeah.
And so we just, let's go, I'll pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real quick. So how did you know when it was time to turn the page though? Because I think a lot of people, they get married to concepts too much, right? And they'll sit there and just try to grind it out like another 10 years, like, no, they're so stubborn, like I have to do this, it's my baby, right? So how did you know when it was time to turn the page per se, when you own those personal training studios, then you went into consulting,
Yeah.
personal trainers stuff? Because I feel like we're in the same position. So when I read your book, Man Up, I was like, holy shit, like this really resonates with me and really relates to me, because I feel like we're in that same position of turning the page and now doing consulting.
I've been fortunate enough to always have listened to my gut. I just didn't know that I had a good gut. Most people don't realize they have a good gut. When you think about any situation, if someone's in a very toxic marriage, years before they ever end the marriage, their gut has been telling them. They just weren't listening, right? Years before making the leap into, let's say, podcasting, your gut was probably telling you. You just weren't ready yet to pull the trigger. Years before switching from in-person training to online coaching, your gut was telling you. And so not enough people listen to their gut, and instead they go, hey friend, what do you think? Do you think I should do this? They start asking friends, family, people who have no experience, and they go, well, that sounds scary, bro, like podcast. What do you know about podcasts, right? Online coaching, what about online? Who's gonna pay you for online coaching? Because it turns out it's a very lucrative, thriving market, right? And so you just gotta listen to your gut. So I knew when to turn the page because I was already in tune with my gut. That's probably one of the advantages I had, and God knows I had a lot of disadvantages. And more people need to tune in to their gut because they make that decision way too far down the road.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, one of my mentors said that trust your gut over Google.
Yep, trust your gut over Google. I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting what you said too about, I never thought about, looking at the mentorship like that, kind of like at a helicopter view and just, having those different pair of eyes. So that was good.
You bet.
Yeah. What did you have else on that?
That's it.
Oh,
Good, we're done.
So what was it, what made you, want to step away from being a PT and, your PT studio ownership? What was it that made you want to go into coaching and consulting?
You know what's funny, man, is like I lost weight the summer of senior year in high school because I felt insecure, low self-esteem, low confidence, and I wanted to ask this girl Nakaya out to the prom. So my simple male mind told me, look good, look athletic, she'll say yes. So I came back senior year weighing like 35 pounds less and more athletic. I never had the confidence to ask Nakaya to the prom, so I never made it to the prom. But that changed my trajectory. I was like, I'm gonna be a personal trainer. I want more people to experience this thing that I experienced. So that to me was my catalyst into the fitness industry. And so I love training people. I still do, given the opportunity. And in fact, just over the weekend, I took a friend to I got my own private gym, BK Strength, that I built out. I'm like, hey, fly into town, we're gonna go eat, but before we eat, we're gonna train like beasts. I'm gonna put you through a workout that you could do at home. You give me anybody and I wanna train them, right? I love serving others, and that's my best way to serve. And so when I was personal training, I loved it so much, I knew if I opened up a gym or a studio, I could help more people through all the coaches that I hired who can then deliver the service. So I can scale myself, right? Well, as I learned very quickly, because of Jim Franco and all the other mentors I had, I got pretty good at running a brick and mortar business. So much so that over time, I had 5 personal training gyms in San Diego. And in that time, trainers would reach out to me and go, hey man, I see you've got 5 gyms. I want to open one way out here in LA. I was like, well, you're not competing with me in LA, I'm in San Diego. Let me teach you what I do. Lead boxes and follow up and all this stuff, right? No one ever taught me. That I had to learn through trial and error, and then ultimately paid for through mentors. And so I'm like thinking to myself, I bet that trainer is getting 50, 100 more clients. So technically, I'm helping those clients get results. And that got me off. Like I love the idea of helping other coaches and gym owners because now I'm making a bigger impact through the vehicle of fitness, right? So I was like, and when I had the opportunity to sell my 5 gyms, I took that opportunity and went all into coaching and consulting for personal trainers for nearly a whole decade before I started the Fit Body Bootcamp brand. And so all of a sudden when you're coaching and consulting, well, yeah, you're consulting them on their business, but as a byproduct, when their business improves, they help more people with fitness and fat loss. So now I was doing the 2 things that I love best, personal training through others and helping them run a successful business, which gives them money to have greater significance, impact, meaning with, which I'm a big believer in that. Again, it goes back to serving, right? I love donating to charities that I believe in. And so I was like, holy cow, I wonder if I can scale this now. So each time it was just, how can I scale my coaching? And the thing that I coach with is business and fitness and fat loss. And so now we do that with our international franchise Fit Body Bootcamp and the thousands of gym owners that I coach and consult. And it's just this like Cinderella life.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were in that moment of wanting to sell, the gyms and go all in, was that kind of like a scary moment though? Just because I'm looking at it from like the context of a personal trainer's mindset, right? A lot of personal trainers, we come from that scarce mindset to where it's like, man, we don't think that we can make a whole lot of money. We don't like doing sales. So I'm very curious, like where your mindset was with pulling the trigger on that.
Yeah, it was very scary because here's how scary it was. It wasn't even my idea to sell my personal training businesses. There were 5 gyms. They were called Premier Results.
Okay.
So it wasn't my idea to sell Premier Results. There was literally a national brand that was growing at that time, and they came through looking to buy my gyms. I was like, yeah, they want to buy Premier Results. They later told me they wanted to buy my receivables. I had all my clients on committed contracts, right? 12-month, 18-month contracts. And they said, what we're really buying is the receivables that you've got coming in. We're just going to shut down your gyms and train them in our own locations, right?
Yeah.
Just move the clients over. I'm like, wow. So the opportunity had presented itself, and now I was in a position where, going back to my mentor, Jim Franco, what do I do? He goes, look, they're making you a hell of an offer.
Yeah.
I would take it, and you've been telling me all this. I still talk to Jim Franco. Now he's almost 80 years old now. Still like a ladies' man, still like outgoing. Yeah, that's a different story about Jim. We should do a podcast on him one day. In fact, I should.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. He goes, look, kid, he always calls me kid. He goes, look, kid, you're always telling me about how you're helping with these other gym owners, and you love it, but you never charge them because you just want to help them. He goes, I think you can coach and consult. I'm like, coach and consult? Never even heard of that industry, right? Well, as it turns out, that's like a whole industry, and he's like, you could be the guy for gym owners. Yeah. And so because that opportunity presented itself, because my mentor told me, go for it, pull the trigger, and the internet was just coming around 2003, 2004, I was like, I'm gonna use the internet to reach more gym owners, and that's gonna be my platform to scale my coaching and consulting.
Yeah.
It was absolutely scary, but when the mentor says do it, and you, again, going back to what I said about a mentor, 1, they have to have done it, 2, you have to trust them. I trust Jim Franco, he said do it, I did it.
And that's the point I was getting to, is you just circle back to having that advantage of having that extra non-biased eye, Jim Franco.
Yep.
That gave you the confidence, and you were just like, okay, yep, let's pull the trigger on this. So
Yep.
that's amazing. And then also too, one little point I want to talk about is you mentioned how much you really enjoy serving, right?
Yep.
So where did that originate from? Is that something that you were your parents kind of instilled?
Yeah, I think, in fact, I can point directly to my dad. Like,
Gotcha.
it just comes right from my dad.
Gotcha.
He is a servant leader. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can relate too. I mean, our father was a what's called a correctional officer at San Quentin State Prison.
Wow.
So he was just very, very tough on us, but always instilled just work ethic and just serving. So
Yeah.
when you said that, I kind of just hit a light bulb, and I was thinking about like my father. So I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Fathers make a tremendous impact, and
absolutely.
that's a whole another podcast
Mhm.
we can do, because these days men get kind of a bad rap, but
yeah,
plenty of fathers make such great impact as
Yeah.
your father.
And the baby brother got more of a work ethic.
I love that jab.
you're gonna see it.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear this all throughout the show. This guy just is always giving me shit. But I'm used to it.
All right, Bedros. So one of the things in your book, Man Up, that really struck a chord was that Fit Body Bootcamp was originated from a crisis.
Yeah.
But you didn't really elaborate as much as I wanted on there. So can you elaborate, how did it originate out of a crisis exactly?
Yeah. Well, the crisis was the big economic downturn that we had in late 2007, 2008, right, when the housing market crashed. Well, again, I don't know how much you guys remember of this, but right before 2007, so 2003, 4, 5, 6, you could buy a home for stated income, meaning I make $10 million a year, and the bank goes, okay, here's a mortgage paperwork, sign it. You're literally stating that you make that kind of money, and they don't check it, right? As long as you have the down payment for it. Now go ahead and make the payments, it's on you. And so, guys, I bought $1 million house on stated income. I'm being very honest with you. Like, we're making about 10 grand a month. We told the bank that we're making $30,000 a month, and we bought $1 million, well actually, it was $1.1 million house. We buy it on stated income, money we didn't have. 4 months later, the economy crashes. Now that $1.1 million house is valuated at just over $600,000, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make money. The very next month, ironically, we made $25,000. The month after that, $30,000, and it was only because I had to hustle. Now, where the hustle came in is the economy crashes, and it doesn't take long before you realize, hey, personal trainers are losing clients, one-on-one clients. A lot of those clients who were affording personal training one-on-one, when their portfolios collapse, they cut out that expensive personal training. Well, the personal trainer cuts me out. Says, hey man, I don't want to buy your courses, come to your events and workshops. So I saw my revenue falling, and so I was having these fire sales on coaching and stuff, trying to piece it all together, but I knew my revenue was going to fall. And so I was like, all right, these outdoor boot camps are happening. They're charging less than a personal trainer. More people can afford it right now during this economic downturn, but it needs to not be outdoors because you can't do it everywhere. There's rain, snow, weather, right? So I was like, what if we take the outdoor boot camp, bring it indoors? And as it turns out, at that very same moment, Gary Vaynerchuk is doing the same thing with VaynerMedia. He's like, look, the economy crashed. Not a lot of people are marketing on Facebook anymore, which means now I can buy traffic for less dollars. I'm going to create this, media company that's going to go out and buy traffic for people who still want to take that risk, even though the economy's crashed. So he's building VaynerMedia. In that same time, 2008, 9, 10, I'm building Fit Body Bootcamp because my whole thing was, hey, personal trainers, one-on-one, no one's buying, but what if you do group training boot camps indoors, and here's the model that we created. So I created the model as a licensing program because I needed personal trainers to buy in on this so I could have money to pay for the house that I couldn't afford, and they did. And by 2012, I franchised the licensing model into a Fit Body Bootcamp, the franchise, and from there it was literally just struggle, but had the economy not crashed and the crisis not happened, I would not have thought about turning this otherwise obscure boot camp thing that trainers ran on weekends in parks and beaches into a legitimate indoor business model.
Right, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so I know that you mentioned also that Fit Body Bootcamp is a huge part of your vision and your purpose, right? So
Absolutely.
Before you started Fit Body Bootcamp, what was that big vision, that big purpose?
I still had a big purpose and vision, but it was unclear. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. Back then, before Fit Body Bootcamp, if you asked me, hey man, what is your big purpose? And look, I love training people. I love giving them amazing results. I even remember telling my wife this, that, hey, Jillian Michaels, she's on Biggest Loser. And Jillian Michaels is a friend, by the way. She's spoken at my event, Fitness Business Summit. So, in my head, I was mentally competing with her, even though she can give two shits. But I'm like, Jillian Michaels is like helping all these people through her show, and she's reaching all these people. You know what? I'm helping all these people through the personal trainers that I coach and consult. Like, the clients never know that there was some guy named Bedros who's really helping them get in shape because they met that trainer, but I feel good about that. So my purpose was to help more people get fit, lose fat, eat better, be optimistic. But I didn't have a number attached. I didn't say I want 10 million people that I wanted to impact by this date. The only difference was with Fit Body Bootcamp, we came up with an actual metric that we want 5 million people every single morning to be impacted through Fit Body Bootcamp. And now we're on pace for that because as we build to 2,500 locations worldwide, and every location has 400 to 500 clients, and each client touches 3 to 4 people in their community, right? We have the school teacher who, we know this for a fact, the school teacher who completely changed what the cafeteria serves. Think about all the weight loss and health benefits those kids experienced, right?
Yeah.
And so now I have a quantified goal. Back then I didn't, but it was still fitness and fat loss through personal training.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears here, Bedros. So we are very fascinated by people's day-to-day lifestyles and
Yeah.
routines and rituals. I don't know, Chris is a little creepy about it too, so you might have a stalker in your hands.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. But
Well, now I know how to deal with them, so I'm good.
Right.
I believe.
So walk us through a day in the life of your life, and most importantly, how do you program your mind to play offense, not defense, in this crazy, noisy world that we live in?
Good question. I'll start with the last question first. The way I play offense, not defense, is I've turned off every single notification on my phone. My phone's sitting right over there. You won't see a text message show up because I've turned off the text message notification. Because if it was sitting here, the last thing I want to do is get interrupted by a notification from a text, an email, a voicemail, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah.
The moment you get a notification, you're on the defense,
Yeah.
right? Because I look at that as a notification to me is a Scud missile that's been launched. Now you want to know, what do I do with this thing? Let me check it. Let me see what someone's saying. Are they liking? Are they hating on me? I don't have to deal with any of that. If I want to know what's going on Instagram, I go to Instagram and I go, poop, and it goes, here's all the people that love you, like you, that share your shit. I go leave some comments, and then I shut it down again, and it doesn't launch a Scud missile at me until I ask it to show me what's going on.
Very good point.
So I'm always on the offense. I'm delivering the Scud missiles. I'm not on my heels trying to deal with it like the rest of the world. So I'll say this in another way that I teach online. Say I'm the creator of content, not the consumer. The consumer of content is like, content overload, what do I do?
Yeah.
You're on the defense. The creator says, watch this, read this, send this text message out. I'm the creator, not the consumer, and I think more people need to think that way. As far as my routine, I'm fiercely dedicated to my routine, thanks to our mutual friend and my business partner and brother, Craig Ballantyne.
Yep.
Before he ever wrote the Perfect Day Formula book, I was the human guinea pig for that. And I talk about that in my book, Man Up. Like, I openly give him credit because I was the most undisciplined, unorganized. I wake up at 7 to 8:30 in the morning, hit snooze several times. But these days it's different. I start with the night before. I make my list of things I'm going to do to dominate the next morning in what Craig calls the magic time.
Yep.
My magic time is usually between 6 and 8, 6 and 9 a.m. And so when I wake up in the morning between 5 and 5:30 without an alarm, I set the alarm for 5:30, but if my eyes open at 5:15, I'm up.
Yep.
And if the alarm goes off at 5:30, I've turned off the snooze feature. You can do that on your iPhones and on your Android. Most people don't realize that. So my alarm just has off, which means if I turn it off and fall back to sleep, I may not wake up for an hour, right? So I just never hit the snooze button because I don't have a snooze button. I get out of bed by 5:30, and now I'm showering, having 30 ounces of water, protein shake, coffee, grab my laptop, and I work right off that list I made the night before. I dominate that list, which means I've done the blog posts, the emails, the phone calls, everything I need to do to move the money needle. Without moving the money needle, I can't move the meaning needle. And meaning is a big thing for me. Meaning impacts service, right? Then by 9 o'clock, I'm heading to the gym, working out just like I did today. Like, this is my normal routine. And then I come here, shower, meet with my 2 VPs, get the finger on the pulse of the business. The VPs go and deploy their marching orders. Then I can come downstairs here to the studio and do this, and after this I got a voiceover to do. And after the voiceover, I've got a call with the franchisee or prospective franchisee. After that, I got a Zoom meeting I've got to do with someone. After that, and I want to be very transparent. The guy that cuts my hair shows up at 4:30. At 4:30, while I'm getting a haircut, the ops team in our compliance department is meeting with me.
Yeah.
So I never go anywhere. Everybody comes to me. People, you can do that now. Like, food can come to you from whether it's Grubhub or somebody can go and pick up your dry cleaning. Like, you don't have to be a millionaire to do that. So my haircut comes to me. Then my massage therapist comes at 5 o'clock after the haircut guy leaves, straightens me out so that I can get on a flight first thing tomorrow morning to New York and then Dallas and then be 100% on in front of the thousands of people I'm going to speak to, right? I am that much of a control freak. And so when I am that much of a control freak, do I have things go wrong, things come out of the blue? Absolutely, but not as much as the other person because I'm always on the offensive with control.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think you're the most productive man in the world. Not Craig.
Craig seems to think so now, yeah, because I just go all in on everything. I'm very obsessed. Yeah.
No, I love the detail, I love the transparency, but how do you turn it all off? How do you shut it off when you go back home and be present?
Because even my presence with my kids is scheduled in, right? And so at 5 o'clock, the massage therapist comes, so he'll be gone by 6 o'clock. I walk out the door. I don't even have a key to the office. Just to give you, like, I don't know what lights to turn off, etc. So the last person out will do that. They'll lock the door, and it's a one-way door where I can go out and it locks behind me.
Yeah.
I don't even know the alarm code. As soon as I walk out, I text my wife. She'll set the alarm from home right off her phone. Look at all the things I don't know. But the 5% of the things I do know move the money needle for me and my clients and my franchisees.
Yeah.
And so once I do go home, I'm straight up daddy. We're playing tennis. Like yesterday, we were playing airsoft. We set up targets. We were playing airsoft. Me and my daughter, she plays the piano, I drum. And I'm just daddy until the kids go to sleep around 9:30. And then me and Diana, my wife, will go and we'll watch an episode of whatever we're watching. Currently, it's Orange is the New Black.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Women
have
love this.
yeah, and this guy does, yeah. Women love Orange is the New Black, and me. And then we'll watch one episode, not even two, because two now throws us over our sleeping time, right? And by 10 o'clock, we're usually in the hot tub. By 10:30, we're in bed, wake up at 5:30, there's my 7 hours.
Nice.
And it's just that regimented, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Are there days when we had someone throw a brick through the glass window last day after our Christmas party at the HQ, and that messed up my workout. But guess what? As soon as the cops came and Joan, my assistant, handled it with the cops, etc., I went right back to getting on track with my day. I never let something throw me off for more than a half hour or an hour. Events will happen, but I go right back to my schedule because routine gives me consistency, keeps me out of depression, out of anxiety. And not a lot of people have enough routine, and this is why so much of the world is suffering with depression and anxiety.
Yeah. Now, is there like some sort of ritual or some sort of like habit you've put in a system to where once you get home or something like that, like you kind of, because I don't think people can just flip the switch, right? Like you're in that full on like CEO mode like all day, and then like when you get home, I don't think somebody can just flip the switch, right? So my father, what he used to do is he used to deal with a bunch of like, prison guards. The worst type of people. So his 45-minute commute was his time to kind of like take off that shield, take off that armor. You know what I mean? So do you have something like that?
Yeah, and I think I talk about it in the book Man Up, where, and I guys, I'm not a smart guy. I used to be the guy who would come home and with a scowl on my face and a chip on my shoulder, and my wife would be walking on eggshells, and I'd be like, what the hell is going on with her, right? And my kids wouldn't run over to give me a hug, and I'm like, what's up with these kids? I give them such a great life, a beautiful home, we travel everywhere, first class. Well, I realized, like, Dad looked like he was about to, like, kill someone, right? And so I'm just griping about this to my therapist, because for 16 months in 2014, 15, I worked the therapist because of my massive anxiety attacks. And he goes, you know what, why don't you take off the armor, Bedros? I'm like, oh shit, that's an interesting way to look at it. Again, outside eyes. His name is Kevin, my therapist. He's like, take off the armor. I'm like, I never looked at it. I had armor. And the way I looked at it, because I was battling all day, right? And I got my sword and I'm swinging it, da-da-da. And when I come home, anyone I see might be a potential person that gets swung at. Well, so he goes, hey, describe your house tonight. Well, I got a separated garage way over there underneath the guest house, and I got to walk across the pool deck. He goes, perfect. Once you park your car, as you're walking across the pool deck, I want you to visualize your armor falling off, your shield, your sword, the chest plate, right? And I literally, in my head, I hear the clinks, clink, 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 clink as I'm falling off, and by the time I get to the back door and come in, chest out, smile, and I walk in looking almost as handsome as you, and all of a sudden, guess what happens? The wife, the kids, the dog, everybody comes at me happily, right? And I was the one, and so I was the one that fixed it. But yeah, you do need a ritual, especially if you're a high-performing CEO or the world relies on you for everything. I would just go in, expect, just sword in hand, like mentally, sword in hand, armor up. And when someone's, look, if someone walked into the door right now with sword in hand and armor, wouldn't we all be like, what the hell? Yeah. Right, well, same thing. So I just go in there with a smile and a pep in my step, and whatever happened, it'll be there to fix tomorrow. It'll be there to fix tomorrow.
Man, that's what I was looking for. So we gotta throw some water on that mic. It's hot.
Yeah.
Those are expensive mics.
No, that was good though. I really respect that, the fact that that has become your ritual now, to where every day you just do that, you take out the armor, and that's that. Love it, man.
All right, so let's say in the morning, for some reason, I know notifications are off, but for some reason your phone's doing this weird like ring. There's nothing you can do about it, okay? So you have to check your phone. It's actual text message from Mark Zuckerberg. He got your phone number, and he says, Bedros, I love what you're doing. He said, you are spreading a hell of a message. He says, I'm going to sit there and grant you a one fake or Instagram live video that's going to reach billions and billions of people for one full day. What would that message be?
Oh my gosh, that message would be what I shared at Dan Fleischman's event, which is, we are all a lot more like a German Shepherd dog than we believe. And what I mean by that is the German Shepherd dog is the type of dog that needs purpose and service. It needs to be herding animals, because it's a shepherd, right? It needs to be herding animals, protecting a family, serving. And in the absence of that dog shepherding, herding, protecting, it gets depressed. They go anxious, like anxiety, stir crazy, and guess what they do? They start digging holes everywhere in the backyard to give themselves purpose. And so I would challenge everybody watching that live video that Zuckerberg would bless me with, and I would say, where in your lives are you digging holes right now? Through alcohol, food, drugs, infidelity, right? Yeah. Because you haven't taken the time to develop your purpose and to serve more.
Whew, powerful.
Yeah.
Also, too, to stay along those lines, you mentioned, and I want to read the quote off your book. You say, your purpose changes with the seasons and chapters of your life. So with that said, do you feel you are still in alignment with your gifts and purpose in life right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the common thread is, I'm a coach that serves.
Right.
It's just, I used to be a one-on-one coach for fitness, and then I was a one-on-many coach, one-on-many for business to business, right? Personal trainers and gym owners. And I served them and I helped them get more clients, but the outcome was still fitness. And now I'm a business coach and mentor and franchisor. And so as a franchisor, I still coach our franchisees, they still help people through their fitness and fat loss goals. And now I have private clients that own all types of businesses, but the common thing that they have in common, whether it's chiropractic, physical therapy, speech pattern impediment, hospitals. One of my clients owns a recovery place for soldiers in Canada, where they give non-habit forming drugs to deal with PTSD, right? And so her whole thing is, how do we grow this thing, right? Because the government's not helping us. The government just wants to say, give the soldiers more medication, but they're going to get addicted to that, somehow end up homeless. And so I just help. I'm still a coach. It's just impact-based businesses, right? So I'm still in alignment. So 10 years from now, I don't know what I'll be doing, but I promise you I'll be coaching someone or some empire or some big organization. Could be Facebook itself, could be Microsoft, could be Apple, in making a greater impact.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. And I know another thing in your book, Man Up, you mentioned that one of your big whys is to make a lot of money to give your family a better life.
Yeah.
I know what that would do for your family, but what does that do to Bedros internally? Like why, what is it going to do for you once you give them that life?
What that does is that heals the little kid in me, man, right? In the book, I kind of hint to the fact that I had a pretty crappy childhood.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, when my dad decided that we're going to escape Armenia, a communist country under Soviet rule, in 1980, I was 6 years old. What he doesn't realize is we didn't just escape communism to come to freedom. I escaped daily molestation by 2 older boys, right? So I grew up very angry, chip on my shoulder, confused, and felt lots of shame, so much rage. Because of that, I got into so much trouble as a young man in my teens, to the point of a police helicopter chase, right? And that was a very pivotal moment in my life, when the cops were chasing you and then you're pulled over and there's a boot on your neck and you have a chance to go to prison or not. And so what would that do for me? Well, to know that I gave my kids the lifestyle that I didn't have, the opportunities I didn't have. Like I tell my son and daughter, as long as you guys get 3.8 or higher in GPA, I'll pull you out of school and you can travel with me. And so they'll literally go to events where they stand in the back of the room and I'm speaking and Tony Robbins is speaking next and all these different people, and that's during a school day. Like, look at all their learning. My son and daughter both know how to build a rapport. They would meet you guys, shake your hands, look you in the eye, and ask you the 3 questions that I've taught them to ask. You know, where are you from? What do you guys do? And how long have you known my dad? Right? Because that's the 3. I was like, son, you ask those 3 questions, and that becomes the icebreaker, and now you're having a dialogue with someone.
Yeah.
Because did anyone teach you guys how to build a rapport?
Not really.
Nope. Right? So those are the things. So I'm giving my kids the experiences, the opportunities that I didn't have. When they get Christmas gifts, I go, guys, you can keep 1. We're going to give the rest to Toys for Tots, right? And in fact, Toys for Tots is one of the 3 organizations that we've adopted that every quarter or every year we do $250,000 of toys. We buy $250,000 worth of toys, and my kids throw their Christmas gifts on top of that. And Toys for Tots donates those to kids who didn't have it. But all I'm doing is I'm healing myself from that little kid who didn't have all those things.
Yeah.
I didn't have Christmas when we came here the first few years. Like, we were broke, we were poor, we're eating out of dumpsters. And so Toys for Tots, I didn't have medical services, so we've adopted Shriners Children's Hospitals. I feel bad for the kids who are foreigners and don't speak English like I didn't. English is a second language for me. And so we've got 97 kids adopted through Compassion International, and my kids write to each and every single one of them when they write to us. And so because of all that, my kids are learning to serve, they're learning to be compassionate in ways that I was never able to even fathom until like in my 30s, right? Son's 13, my daughter's 11, guys. Like, they are way ahead of the curve. So I'm really healing myself, and really, God forbid, if I were to die early, I've got 2 awesome and amazing humans that I'm leaving behind.
It's amazing. No, and I appreciate you being vulnerable about that, just because that healing part really resonates with me, and I know Chris could, relate with this too, because when we lost our father, I mean, man, we write about it in our book that we went through hell, through watching our mom battle alcoholism. She lost her mom due to cancer 3 months after, so we were in so much pain to where we were just getting in trouble, just doing dumb stuff, and it was just dark times, And it's just like, still to this day, I'm still trying to heal myself, but it's just like so much better than it was before.
I can tell you this, man, and this is just brother to brother, I don't think we're ever gonna heal. I think it's a constant process.
I agree.
Because when someone who's that pivotal in your life ripped so quickly out of your life, or in my case, the innocence, as Kevin, my therapist, tells me, like the innocence that I had, gone, right? The father, the rock in your life, gone. That's not something that heals, it scars. And that scar's always there and evident. That area of the body's a little tight, and you feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. So with all the success you've had thus far, with everything you're going to be doing going forward, because I know you're just going to be doing a lot of badass shit, which is amazing. Do you feel like there's anything missing currently in your life?
Currently in my, I'll be fully transparent.
Yeah.
Currently in my life, I think what's missing is surfing. And when I say surf, just there's not a lot of me time right now.
Gotcha.
But I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that. I understand this is just a phase. Why is there not a lot of me time? Not because I have so much problems in my life, because I wrote a book that people got so excited about that every freaking thought leader and influencer and business person is promoting. What a good problem to have. I created a franchise that was doing so horrible in the beginning that I went all in to make it right side up, that now it's number 350 on the Entrepreneur Magazine's 500 fastest growing franchises, right? Out of 175,000 franchises. And we hit the Inc. 5000 this 3 years in a row. So because of that, our business is growing quickly. So I'm having first world problems, not third world problems, but because of that, I don't have a lot of me time. And I would like some. That's my only complaint. But if that's my only complaint, I'm very blessed.
And would you say that's like one of your weaknesses that you're going to be working on, like going into 2019, is how to like incorporate more me time?
Or just creating more space?
I need to, because I'm the kind of guy that I will just give. And there used to be a time that I would give until an anxiety attack or an essential tremor would just knock me down. I refuse to have another anxiety attack or to have essential tremors. And so I've gotten better at creating balance, but dude, I used to surf once a week, twice a week. Now I'm lucky if it's once every other month. But again, it's a phase I'm going through. Like if people are feeling sorry for me about that, like I should be slapped around, right?
Yeah.
So no one should feel sorry for me. That's just, I'm being honest with you. Like that's what's missing in my life right now, me time. But that's because I pour into everyone else's cup.
Right.
And I need to pour into my cup as well. And that will come in 2019, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Bedros, I want to take you through a scenario. So what if you were just walking just in a park and it was dark and there was just a bench there by itself.
Yeah.
And you saw a person just sitting there by themselves. And you went to approach that person and it was a 20-year-old version of yourself. What would you sit next to that 20-year-old version of yourself and say?
I would say everything you want to accomplish is a byproduct of your self-esteem and your self-image. Spend more time building your self-esteem and self-image now so that you don't have to suffer later. And I've thought about that, which is why I had the answer so easily. I believe every outcome you want is on the other side of better self-image and self-esteem. But I want more pay. You want to ask the boss for more pay? If you have more confidence, self-esteem, self-image, you'd go ask, and then you tell the boss how you're going to make him more money or her more money to justify that pay. But that takes confidence and self-esteem, self-image. You want a better relationship? And you want to get out of this one? Self-esteem, confidence, self-image. Everything that you want is on the other side of better self-image and self-confidence.
And that's why you're so big on just being relentless and resilient.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't even believe, if I'm 1 degree off, the example I give people, imagine 2 cruise ships going in the night, right? They're supposed to both go to the same destination, which is 1,000 miles away. But the cruise ship on the left is just 1 degree. They have the bearing 1 degree off. Now, after about 4 miles, you're not going to see a difference. The cruise ships can still see each other. After about 400 miles, they've lost contact. The one on the right is going to go to the destination. The one on the left that was 1 degree off is now somewhere completely different, lost, anxious, depressed, digging holes, right? And so I am vigilant about being so strict with my discipline because that 1 degree can throw us all off. One bad decision, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
So in your morning routine, do you ever like wake up and like splash water on your face or anything like that?
I just go in the shower, so I splash water all over my body.
Let's say one day for some reason you just go into the bathroom, like the mirror's right there, you splash water in your face, and for some reason you just stare at yourself in the mirror. Are you content with the person you see in that mirror every single day?
No.
No?
No.
Why is that?
I believe the best of me is yet to come, and I'm just angry that I'm not there yet. That's why.
You're on that path though.
Yes, it's never soon enough for me,
Yeah.
and never will be. I will die trying to peak, which is good. That's what I want. But I'm also angry. Like I want to be able to make. I want to have 1,000 kids adopted through compassion. Not 97. I want to be the #1 donator to Shriners Children's Hospital. Not one of the top 10 or 15, whatever we are. Does that make sense? And so I'm angry that I'm not there. I want to have 2,500 locations now with Fit Body Bootcamp, not 714 like we have now. So I'm not happy with that.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy. It gives me like chills like just listening to you because like I feel like a lot of that same like just like
Good.
Yeah,
rage,
just never
like,
content.
Good.
So hard on ourselves. Like
Be hard on yourself.
Shit.
Not enough people are
Crazy.
hard on themselves, fellas. If more people were hard on themselves, we would have a better planet. We would have less homeless people. We would have more compassion. Not enough people are willing to be hard on themselves and go, I'm going to fill my cup up and let it pour over so I can help the community that I want to serve.
Yeah.
Instead, they just go, my cup's more than half full. I'm good. Not good enough. Yeah.
Mediocrity.
Mediocrity.
All right. Love it.
Yeah, I can rant on that.
So we're going into 2019. We're pretty much putting a close on 2018. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned in 2018?
The biggest lesson I learned was a lesson that I knew, but had never really called or cashed these chips in. That your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
For years, over a decade, I've just been building a great network. From good guys like Frank Kern to Joe Polish. I've helped them, they've helped me. But I bought from them. I always give them money for services, right? And then I've always made sure that, exactly, that I can make goodwill deposits, right? Dean Graciosi and Andy Frisilla, the more recent ones, Ed Milet and Tom Billiou. Just, I want to give and put all these guys on a pedestal, knowing that when the time comes, if my book is worthy enough, I'm going to ask them to promote. And I did.
Yeah.
And man, was I blown away with the power of people. Craig Ballantyne, Joel Marion, right? These guys that have 1 million plus following. Joel Marion has 1 million plus following, and his followers are real, and they are real responsive. When Joel says, go get this book, man, we saw the needle move, you know? And when that happens, it's because you've spent time putting in the goodwill deposits, and now you can ask for, you know, a favor. And I was blown away. Yeah, it's just everybody needs to really believe that your network is your net worth, but only if you've made the deposits first.
Yeah, it just goes back to just being a giver, not a taker.
Damn straight.
Yeah. All right, Bedros, so we're coming to an end on this podcast.
Yeah.
Before I ask the last question, you know, I just want to commend you. And I know this is coming from Big Bro by 1 minute, so I'll step in. But man, on a serious note, I just want to say thank you so much for, number one, having us here. Amazing staff. Number two, for writing that book, because I think Man Up is going to help a lot of people out there, especially entrepreneurs. And third, just for everything that you're doing, man. You know, your story, like we've been following you for the past decade. You know, I don't know why it's been a decade to actually like meet you and just like be in your presence, but I just feel so much like relatedness and just I feel that rage in you too, like Eric and I think our story is so similar. I think that's what just really caught my attention in that book and why I wanted to just come do this interview, man. So just thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Guys, Chris, Eric, I appreciate you guys. I mean, immensely that you give me the opportunity on your platform to share this message. And when I started to meet like-minded people, I was like, I'm not crazy, or we're all crazy.
Yeah.
This is so obsessed, so full of rage to do good, right? People would always call us, what? Oh, you're being a control freak. Like, why can't you just settle? Why can't you just be okay? Like, no, I know I'm destined for more, but you don't want to tell people that because they're going to look weird at you. But then all of a sudden you're amongst like-minded people, just reach for the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you to live a dynamic lifestyle?
Dynamic lifestyle is this, man. It's never peak because the best is yet to come. The moment someone decides to live a static lifestyle, the opposite of dynamic, means you're like, I'm good, my cup's full, I'm fine, I'm gonna just cruise. And no one can ever cruise in life because everything around us changes. The price of a Snickers bar goes up. So if you're like, hey, I make enough money, I'm good, just the price of toilet paper and Snickers bars and whatever you're gonna eat, your rent, your car payment, no one can cruise. So a dynamic lifestyle is to constantly thrive, never peak, and know that the best of you is still yet to come. My personal goal to live dynamically is to, just as I'm like, okay, I think I've peaked, and I take my last breath and die.
Whew, what a way to end the show. Awesome answer. So, Bedros, where can our listeners find out, more about your book and just what you're doing?
Yeah, to find out anything about me or my book, just go to manup.com or follow me on the social medias.
Amazing. We'll have all that plugged up in the show notes. Once again, Bedros, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
You bet.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this podcast video. If you guys are interested in learning how to build your online fitness business, we have 2 free videos for you guys. The first video is how to build your online fitness business and make more money. And the second one is how to retain your actual online clients so you can sustain your online business. So make sure to click the link in the description box below and access those 2 videos and wait for the next podcast that comes on.